Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. In this one we'll be creating a vintage poster design. For this example I'll be using this Liverpool version. This is it works great for the sort of old-fashioned footballer poster look, for any club really. I've just chosen Kenny Dalglish as my main sort of person for this. The idea is to get a really high quality photo, preferably if they have something like a ball or some sort of other thing in the image, it works a lot better. But it's not too complex, so we're going to get straight into it. We're just dragging our picture and positioning that just at the bottom of our screen, around there. We're now going to create a rectangle above that bottom layer, just a rectangle, put it just above the sort of knee area where it looks right, just like that. It doesn't matter which color you use for this at this point in time. And we're now going in and we're making rectangles that are going to be this color here, which if you're using the same color as me is right there, which is the sort of skin colored look, and the red is that red there. But obviously you guys are free to use your own colors, whichever works best. So we need 3 rectangles for this, so just copy and paste one, try and get equal sort of distance between the two, and then put one on the other side about there is fine. And then all those now you want to drag behind your person, and make that person invisible for now. Convert all these rectangles into smart objects, and this is where you're going to distort those 3 rectangles to fit the shape that we're going for. So this middle one, we're sort of shrinking down the top and extending out the bottom just about to a point where you guys want it. Might just bring that in slightly. I think there's okay for that one. And then on the left and right, you basically just want to match the flow of the design. So the lines that are going sort of diagonal, make sure they're parallel, make sure they don't sort of come into a point or go out to a point, make sure they're pretty even all the way through, just like I'm doing here. And a good way of doing it is to always mark the size of the space on the edges, which you'll see me do in a few seconds with the rulers. You'll see me sort of put one from these rectangles, so we can, so if you use your ruler, go to the bottom of each rectangle, you can see that these are almost the exact same, if not exactly the same, which is what you are going for. And then you obviously you re-click the eye next to the character, bringing that back in, and we're now gonna go in and we're changing that background color. Just color select that red. Obviously you guys will be using your own colors, but Liverpool, Man United, anyone with a red kit, this works really well, this red. So you now want to add your black and white on your person with the black and white filter. You then want to add posterize to the character. You can alter this again later. I tend to keep mine around this 6 to 7 sort of range, giving that good detail but also being quite minimalistic. But feel free to play around. As you can see, I kept that on, I put that one on 10, but I think I alter it later once we've added in the extra layers. So we then made a layer above below the posterize and converted it to a smart object. We're now adding a black rectangle over the top of that, converting that to a smart object, and then you want to press X on your keyboard, which will basically just flip the black and white, which just works well for the filter. So you're going into your filter gallery, you're adding a reticulation, that's the only filter you need. and you want to put your density around the 25% mark, and that just creates a really cool sort of grainy pattern. You can then save that. That should then clip and mask over your person automatically, and you just want to decrease the opacity a bit, and you'll be able to see the effect coming in over the top of the character. I feel like this works better for the older photos, and gives it sort of a more choppy half turn, which works better for this. We're then adding in a threshold, and we're just playing around with it. Just slide up and down. Every picture is different, and then we're just decreasing our opacity just to bring out a bit more of the darker sections. But it's a lot of playing around with these main three things, with your posterize, with your threshold, with your opacity. Just play around with it until you get a nice sort of finish that you're looking for. We're then adding in a color overlay that is the same sort of skin color, and we're putting that on multiply, which will then turn your whole image into the sort of color. We then want to add a stroke that's the same skin color, and just sort of increase the size to around 15 is fine for this. As you can see, it creates more of a sort of vintage look, which is what we're going for. So it's then a case of adding in any logos, so team logos. This is a Liverpool logo that I've grabbed and sort of got rid of all the white, just so it works better. We're then dragging that into the background behind our character and shifting that up to about there is fine, and then we're really making it the opacity almost invisible but still sort of visible, so around about 10% works well for that. Just adds a bit more to the background. We're then gonna add our grunge background to match the colors in the design, and you just want to place that so it's peeking over the corners. About there is all good for that. And then we're just adding in another Liverpool logo that is going to go into the top corner. Again, just adding a bit more to the design, and it also works really well when we start adding the text in. If you are using footballers, look into the nicknames and that sort of stuff, because sometimes you find really good stuff. Like this one's King Kenny, everyone, so you can put like a crown above it, and you can play around, give it a more illustrative feel. As you can see, I've just added in a bit of text about the sort of a couple of milestones, and then some big bold sort of, I guess the only way to describe it is candy shop text. And I think the only thing left to add is obviously that shadow of the bird in the Liverpool logo. You can find most of them online. If you were to use, say, a Man United player, you always look for the most simple thing. So try and use like the Red Devil would be a good one as the shadow. But just try and find an image like this. Most of them are quite high res. Just drag that in, and then you just want to select, get rid of any parts you don't need. So I'm just going to individually select all these different parts of the wings, and then we're going to copy and then delete that background layer, so we're just left with the bird. We're then adding a blending option, making it black. And then this is what's going to become our shadow. So we're dragging that behind the person, positioning that in the general sort of area we want it. And then you want to use your distort tool to make it sort of angled like a shadow would be. Just do your best to position it. It takes a decent amount of playing around a lot of the time to find the exact angle, There's not too bad. I might just alter that ever so slightly. And then we're adding a Gaussian blur to that. Keep it around your sort of 5, isn't bad. Just a tiny bit of blur, and make sure your opacity is quite low, as the shadow wants to be visible but not the frontal point of the image. As you can see, I'm just going back into distort, pushing that down a tad. About there is fine. We're then adding a clipping mask to the shadow and just getting rid of the super sharp bits that peek around the sections, just so it's a cleaner look. And that overall is the generic sort of design for it. If you're looking for a more darker tone like I had in the original, just mess with your threshold, add the opacity back in, and you should be able to see the image getting darker. We then also, if you darken your darken color burn, that reticulation layer, that will also give you a really clean darkness to it. So I'm just playing around, going through the different filters, darker color, play with the opacity, and that is basically what you want to do until you're really happy with the finished product. So that is pretty much it. It's not too complex. There are some bits that are sort of turn it from being just a really basic design to something that's very sort of stylized and cool. But I hope you guys did enjoy this tutorial. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on another upload. We upload every single Saturday. And make sure to follow all the links in the description. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see everyone in the next one.